What's going on, chat? Today we are reacting to the best POIs in Fortnite history. I had Firehouse sub. Okay, it got a little messy. Don't worry about it. We are watching Cypher PK's video, ranking the best POI from every single Fortnite season. Kind of fired up.
To every single season of Fortnite, and we got to start in Chapter 1, Season 1. And of all the POIs that the game started with, I gotta give it to Retail Row for Season 1.
Gas, yeah.
The release of Battle Royale.
That or PP.
And besides maybe Pleasant Park or Tomato Town, it's arguably the most iconic of all of the original POIs. In terms of loot, it also had the most amount of chests, making it very contested back in Season 1.
Yeah.
Easily claiming the best POI of Season 1.
Actually,
now moving on to Season...
Funny story. What? The first place I ever dropped was Retail Row. The whole map was black. The first place I dropped was Retail Row.
We got quite a few new POIs. We got Shifty Shafts, Snobby Shores,
Tilted
Haunted Hills, Junk Junction. But one of these is obviously not like the rest because we also got Tilted Towers.
Yeah, Tilted Towers.
Easily the best POI of all time.
It is. It's the GOAT.
Landed at Tilted Towers. I mean, a lot of people. It also dethroned Retail Row for having the most amount of loot at one singular POI, and it was in a pretty good spot on the map, close enough to the middle where you could fight here pretty much for the first half of the.
Yeah, dude, Tilted was a really weird spot. Like, I don't think we've ever seen anything like Tilted in Fortnite history, where it's like, okay, you want to fight people, you go to Tilted. If you don't, you stay away from Tilted. Like, we have big POIs now. Like, we've had Mega City. And, I mean, we had whatever the place was called in last season. But, there's not that many people landing there. But at Tilted, there'd be like 100 people landing at Tilted.
And if you made it out alive, you were walking out with 10 to 15 kills. It's an absolute classic. Epic made so many different versions of Tilted Towers since its original release, and now it's back in Fortnite OG.
It's a mess.
Now in Chapter 1, Season 3, things slowed down because we only got one new POI, and it was Lucky Landing.
Still gas, though.
It wasn't an awful POI. The only downside, it was on the edge of the map. It is kind of iconic. Bugha won the World Cup in Season 9 landing here. They eventually added a trophy in this POI to honor Bugha's win. It was aesthetically pretty cool. It was a lot more different than the rest of POIs on the map. But the thing is, it had no competition. It was the only POI added in Season 3, so obviously it's the best POI added in Season 3. Now for Chapter 1, Season 4, I gotta give this one to Dusty Divot. People were really...
Dusty Divot's also gas.
It was a very loved POI. The original Dusty...
Like, OG Dusty is so bad, it's not even funny. It's so bad.
Compared to the original one, this one has a ton more loot. They also added the Hop Rocks, which was like a new movement item at this POI. A lot of people were landing here. I think I dropped one of my first 30 bombs by landing at Dusty.
It's got the win counter
in the first week
back
of new season.
Back when it mattered.
The iconic ice cream truck that was at this POI with 100,000 HP. I'm definitely looking forward to seeing Dusty Divot again in Season 4 once we get there in Fortnite OG. Now for Chapter 1, Season 5, we did get the introduction of Lazy Links and an entire new desert biome. But one POI in the desert biome stands above everything, and it's got to be Paradise Palms.
Paradise Palms might be one of the best POIs ever. I like loved Paradise Palms, and then they fucking put it in Reload, and honestly I hate it now. But back then I loved Paradise Palms. That was like my go-to spot.
Rifts right outside of the POI, so even though it was on the edge of the map, you could fight at Paradise and then rift to Retail or Salty and continue the action. It had a ton of loot. It was in the new desert biome, and it was so iconic that Epic used it for the new Reload map, Oasis. I'm pretty sure I'd have Paradise Palms in like my top 5 POIs of all time, easily. Now in Chapter 1, Season 6, we got some changes to the map.
Oh, we got like Haunted Hills.
Floating Island is
like the upstairs of Haunted Hills.
Best new addition to the game.
I mean, this was ass.
So good that they kind of recreated the floating island in multiple chapters.
In every season,
as we saw in Chapter 4,
literally every season.
Now even in Chapter 6, it gave a decent amount of loot. It was great for rotation. And speaking of rotation, it started moving around the map as well later on. So it definitely is very memorable and is a very iconic POI that a lot of Fortnite gamers remember. Now for Chapter 1, Season 7. And this one's a little...
Alright, sorry about that. This is stupid. He's saying Polar Peak is better than Happy Hamlet. Happy Hamlet was probably my top 5 POIs of all time. I fucking loved Happy Hamlet, and I'm so excited for, I'm so excited for OG to come back to, next season, Season 5, Season 6, Season 7, Season 8. Season 8 and Season 7, I loved. And it's obviously Happy Hamlet.
The best POI has to be Polar Peak.
No, I hated Polar Peak.
Added the mythic sword, which everyone remembers being one of the most powerful items in the game. It has to be one of the tallest POIs we had added in Chapter 1. And if I remember correctly, back in Chapter 1, Season 7, it was the spot I dropped at the most, especially when I was chasing for that mythic sword. Now in Chapter 1, Season 8, we got a lot of... on the map.
This is W season. W fucking season.
And I'm going to have to pick Lazy Lagoon.
Yeah, Lazy Lagoon was gas. Because what were the ones? That was, there was what? Power Plant? Can I go back to where the map was? Please, you arsehole.
Volcano in a new jungle biome. I'm going to have to pick Lazy Lagoon.
Yeah, bro. So, what? Sunny Steps, Lazy Lagoon, and Power Plant? Or no, the Power Plant came in Season 9. They moved the block over there, the block Blequa. Yeah, dude, this was fucking cool. This was actually kind of cool. I loved this jungle biome. Probably my
best added POI of season.
My favorite
Very cool.
biome.
The cannons, the ship, a ton of loot on the dock and on the ship. It was just a fun.
Dude, those heavy assault rifles were fucking crazy, dude.
It was definitely designed in a very unique look and style, at least at the time back in Chapter 1.
Yeah.
In Chapter 1, Season 9, we got 3 new POIs. We got Mega Mall. We got
Mega Mall's gas.
And we got the pressure plant, which replaced the volcano. But I'm gonna have to give this one to Neo Tilted. Even though, in my opinion, it's a downgrade from the original Tilted.
No, it's Mega Mall, bro. Mega Mall you can actually fucking fight at.
The slipstreams made it very good to move around inside the actual POI and to leave the POI to go.
Yeah, that was sick. But Mega Mall had that shit too, though.
During the World Cup era, so there's a lot of iconic fights that happened at this POI. Now we move on to a season that had a lot of changes to the map with Season X. We had the Taco Tuesday.
Starry Suburbs.
The prop hunt at Moisty Mire.
Moisty Palms was sick.
It was all over the place, but one POI stands above them all.
Starry Suburbs.
Honestly, it's kind of hard to pick between these two because we had 2 different versions of Tilted Towers during this season. We had Tilted Town, which was our first look at...
Are we just not going to talk about Starry Suburbs?
But we also had Gotham City.
Are we just not going to talk about that?
A ton at Tilted Town, and that was my drop spot during competitive that season. I got to give this one to Gotham City.
We're just gonna ignore the place that you would get a star and it would give you a gold scar and you'd come out of there with max everything. Okay. We'll just fucking ignore that.
It similar to Tilted Town,
right.
And it just really made you feel like you were playing some sort of Batman game with all the Batman mythics that got added.
Yeah, that shit kind of was cool.
Of the season. Now we move on to a new chapter, Chapter 2, Season 1. A lot of new POIs got added.
Retail again?
Iconic POIs. But in my opinion, my favorite one from Season 1 has to be Slurpee Swamp.
Yeah, that's
the
fair.
Infinite heals and the new slurp barrel mechanic made sure that you were always leaving Slurpee.
Dude, this place was
shield.
Dude, when Chapter 2 first came out, we were like, what the fuck? There's so much new shit. The floppers, swimming.
To stay alive in the storm, and you guys remember
shit was so cool.
And myself encouraged as well to challenge where we stay in the storm the entire time. It also just had a lot of loot compared to some of the other Chapter 2 Season 1 POIs. If you guys remember, Chapter 2 Season 1 was a pretty bare bones map. But things changed in Chapter 2 Season 2 because now we have another iconic
The Agency
POI. And this one is easily the best POI of Chapter 2 Season 2.
The Shark was pretty good too.
Top 5 POIs of all time.
So was Grotto.
To the OG Agency.
They were all good.
Midas Mythic.
Grotto was sick.
Get the vault, all the loot. The henchmen running around screaming gibberish. In the dead center of the map, so you were all from the first couple of zones at least. There was also launch pads and helicopters eventually added.
Yeah, helicopters were sick.
And you were surrounded by water, so people really had to swim or build across to get to you. Overall, just an iconic, absolute classic of a POI.
Yeah, those were sick.
2 Season 3, the entire map.
Fortilla, bro.
Had some new
or Rickety Rig.
The Fortilla and Rickety Rig, and
yeah, dude.
Of course,
Gas.
Coral Castle.
Man, I landed at Coral Castle for comp in Season 2, and dude, gas. It was gas. fucking gas, bro. Such a good POI.
Authority. This is a reskin version of the agency, and in my
I hated the Authority.
It's not as good as the agency, but it's still the best POI of that season. It was kind of like a rebranded agency. The outside was kind of fortified by this like walls with little rooms, still a ton of loot to be had, and you were still dead center in the map, making it a very powerful
Fortilla
to land at. Now in Chapter 2, Season 4, we have another obvious pick.
Stark Industries.
Mid-season updates we
That was crazy.
Fortnite. They added Stark Industries.
That shit was crazy.
Game, and that became the best POI of that season, and potentially top 5 POIs of all time.
It is.
A ton of loot with a vault. The Iron Man.
And then they just took it away.
And so were the Iron Man exclusive cars. And they had these special chests that were spitting out legendary and epic pump shotguns. You had Mongrel and
the pulse rifle too was nuts.
They ended up winning FNCS by landing here. Everyone was hot dropping here in ranked non-stop action. You were also elevated on the map, so like it was really hard to get third party. People would have to rift or like climb up to get to you. Now we're moving on to Chapter 2, Season 5. We had some unique new...
I love this season. I love the lever. I love the lever pump.
POI stood out above them all. Epic took 2 of our favorite POIs, Salty Springs and Tilted Towers, and they combined them into
Salty Towers. Yeah, that was good.
It kind of worked. It was a decent
mix
between both POIs. It had a ton of loot. It was towards the center of the map. It was even closer to the center.
Dude, the thing that with Chapter 2 that was so weird is like when you add like a new biome now, they just keep it in for the rest of the season, right? They would take it away. Like Chapter 2 could have been fucking crazy by the end because you would have had like the sand area, you would have had Stark Industries, but it magically just went away.
Some of it was covered by sand, but it was still a very good POI to drop at. And now we're moving on to a season where I don't really want to pick a POI.
Bony Burbs.
Chapter 2, Season 6. All
Colossal
the
Crops.
POIs they added with this new biome were very bad.
Yeah, they were awful. Spire was terrible.
Crops. I'm still going to have to pick one. And in my opinion, I'll just have to pick Colossal Crops.
Yeah, this was awful, man.
Awkwardly made.
The makeshift shotguns, oh my god, man.
At least Colossal Crops was a little bit more spread out. It had more materials, more...
That gun was fucked, too. That gun was nuts. I was... Dude, controller player me, bro, I was crazy this season, though.
Now, for Chapter 2, Season 7, I'm going to have to give it to Believer Beach. This was a rebrand,
yeah, so, okay. So, pretty much what happens is now we're in Chapter 2, Season 7, and there's literally no map changes. It's just back to the old map, literally. Just back to the old map.
Added all the way back in the beginning of Chapter 2, but it was a little bit different now with the alien theme. We had some visual changes.
I thought that
there was a giant alien ship you could fly up to. They added a bunch of crash pads.
I thought that there was like
making it very easy.
The fucking the jungle.
Landing at the top of the hotel was also kind of a classic.
Was that Season 8?
There, get high ground, loot up, and start farming people as they're flying in. Okay, for Chapter 2, Season 8, it's a bit tricky because you guys remember the alien ship broke into a million pieces and crashed onto the map. But the actual map changes for Season 8 were very... Remember this POI? Like I said, the map changes this season
my bad.
awful. This one had wind tunnels, which made it cool for mobility. There was also a couple of houses and bunkers.
Yeah, but what about the fucking... What was it called? I don't remember. It was like the Predator place.
Like things that you could farm up at this POI. Most of the changes on the map this season were very minimal. We didn't have any really, unique POIs that were actually good. Visually, the pyramid was stunning, but it wasn't a good.
Yeah, this was awful
to land at.
Awful.
So I'm just not going to give it to it. I'm going to give it to Destroyed Dish. And if you don't agree, then you don't agree. And now we move on to a new chapter. Chapter 3.
Chapter 3 was gas.
A lot of cool places to land.
Chapter 3 was gas, bro.
Places. But I'm going to give it to the Daily Bugle.
The Daily Bugle was sick.
Collab POI. It was a very fun POI to land at. You had the spider webs for mobility. And there was also the guaranteed Spider-Man bags, which you could loot for the Spider-Man.
Yeah, bro. Chapter 3, gas, man.
There was only 3 buildings, but they were all huge with a ton of loot in them. The only problem was getting third-partied from the hills around the POI. But with the spider webs and the mythics, it was kind of easy to get in and out anyways. I do want to give some honorable mentions.
Oh my god.
Cavern was a really solid spot. Rocky Reels was also
gas.
Chonkers Speedway.
Chonkers was good.
Good POIs this season. So
yeah, this was a good season, gas. As far as I'm concerned.
Bugle has them beat just by a little bit. Now for Chapter 3, Season 2, I'm going to give it to Command Cavern. You got to remember also,
I don't
this
know.
is the season where we got zero build, and Command Cavern played really well with zero build. You had the floating blimp at the...
I didn't like this place. Was fucking way too much for me, but
the cavern, there was a bunch of loot in there. It kind of felt like the grotto from Chapter 2. Of course, Gunner was there with his mythic as well. And because it's all inside and underground, getting third-partied here wasn't as common. And now we move on to Chapter 3, Season 3. I'm going to give this one to Reality Falls.
yeah, bro, gas.
This one is one of the prettiest people.
Gas, this fucking was so cool, bro. This was so fucking cool. I landed here in comp, FNCS, and we actually like qualled and shit. This was gas.
POI giving you shield, kind of gave you that slurpy swamp effect where you were always walking out of here with full health, full shield. Fighting on the tree and climbing up the tree was also an experience. There was even a strategy that people used in the FNCS to stay alive.
Yeah, it was this fucking Queef or whatever his name is.
Kept hitting the mushrooms that healed you at this POI over and over to win the heal off. Now for Chapter 3, Season 4, we had some map changes.
Oh, dude, fuck the Chrome season.
Cloudy condos. This was kind of like a
fuck the Chrome.
Season 1. All they really did was lift up the POI with the balloons to save it from the Chrome, but it definitely made it a little bit different, and there wasn't a lot of other changes to the map during this season. And also, they filmed a good chunk of the Cypher PK icon skin trailer at this POI, because my skin came out during this season.
That's a tough season for that to come out. That shit was ass.
Chapter 4, Season 1. We had a lot
Chapter
of
4, man.
A new chapter. You know, we had Anvil,
not bad.
Bastion, Lonely Labs, Slappy Shores,
not bad.
Easy Fields as well. But in my opinion, the one that really looked very different and made me feel like I was playing a completely different game, like some sort of Skyrim MMORPG, was the Citadel. During Chapter 4,
which no, I mean we're not going to give that to the Citadel. If I had to give it to somewhere,
the Citadel.
If I had to give that, I'm giving it to whatever POI this is, like the farm. The farm, dude. You never can go wrong with farms, man. You can never go wrong with farms. I really wish you would have the like the whole thing up here, but that's fine. I gotta go with the farm, bro. Farm was gas.
Epic even made some lighting changes where the light looks different from the outside as it comes in, and it looked fantastic on this map. Landing at the top of the Citadel.
I feel like I just got my back blown out.
The Citadel, the Nick A30 role plays, Tfue clutching up, 1v4 squad wiping. That is the spot.
My God, WAM.
In my opinion, and the best POI of Chapter 4 Season 1.
Man, Red Eye.
Even all of Chapter
Bring the Red Eye back to an actual game.
4, because in Chapter 4 Season 2 we had a new POI, a massive POI, Mega City.
Not a fan, okay? I'm not a fan of huge cities. I'm not. I am not a fan of big cities. I don't like them. They don't play well. They just don't play well. The reason that everybody loves Pleasant Park, Retail Row, Greasy Grove, Salty Springs, like those POIs, is because you can fight at them. Like, you know, you can loot your house and then you can look out your house and you can see shit. Here, you have no idea. There could be somebody hiding in any building looking down on you and you're fucked. So, no, I'm not a fan of big cities.
FPS was always dropping while you were...
Yeah, not to mention that, like...
You also had a vault, which you could end up getting the Mythic Havoc shotgun, which hit for over 200 damage, 250 headshot damage before they nerfed it, and still over 200 after they nerfed it.
Dude, Havoc's...
You were always coming out of here with
Havoc shotguns are so good.
A lot of the best weapons in the game.
Oh my God.
It was fun to find
nice mouse control, wow.
Rails, the cars, just non-stop action at this POI. It was a good attempt at recreating an iconic POI like Tilted Towers.
No, it was not.
Although, if I remember correctly, after a few weeks passed, a lot of people stopped landing here, and I'm assuming it's because their FPS was dropping too much to be landing here. That's the truth, because it was a solid POI besides that. Now in Chapter 4 Season 3, we didn't get a lot of changes to the
season.
The jungle season with like the whole new jungle biome.
I did love the flapjack though.
Humble Ruins. It was probably the most solid POI they added that season. It's also the most recognizable one from that season. It had a lot of little secrets and places to hide, and overall just was closer to the center of the map, so you didn't really have to worry about it. But in Chapter 4, Season 4, they did cook with 3 new POIs that were all very solid. But of the 3 new Vault POIs, I gotta give it to Eclipse Estate. I mean,
yeah.
Look at the little...
So, I never fucking played this season. So, we're gonna go with Cypher here. I did not play this season. I usually quit. Like, I'll play, like, when the new chapter comes out, I'll be like, oh my God, new chapter. I'll play the first 2 seasons and fuck
in
off.
the background. Visually, this POI looks amazing. It was also really fun to fight at. The underground vault, hiding in the water, camping the vault, just a ton of action at this POI. And all the new POIs they added this season were amazing. Like, they were all fantastic, really well made. But Eclipse Estate was probably my favorite one. And of course, that's where the main guy from that season, Kato Thorn, that was his spot. And he was there, and he would drop a kinetic blade if you defeated him. And now we move on to Chapter 5, Season 1. Of course, brand new map. We had
Chapter 5 was gas.
Grand Glacier, Reckless Railway, Ruined Reels. But of all
the farm,
POIs, if I had to pick one where there was the most action and had some of the best loot, I gotta give it to Fencing Field.
You can't go wrong with the farms, man. You can't. They're so good. And the reason they're so good, they're so easy to fight at, is because it's just a big open area with a bunch of loot. Like, I guess that wasn't a farm. Yeah, it was. Yeah, it kind of was. Yeah, it was kind of a, yeah, okay. Gas, though, gas.
It had the best mythic AR, it had the underground vault as well, and it was close enough to the center of the map. People would always rotate here after landing anywhere else, and if you landed here, it was an absolute bloodbath to open the vaults. Now, in Chapter 5, Season 2, we had 2 brand new biomes, okay? This was actually...
Can we also talk about how sick it was to put a fucking scope on your sniper?
Really hard.
That was awesome. That was fucking sick,
man. These 2 POIs, because we have Grim Gate and we have Mount Olympus. Visually, Mount Olympus, in my opinion, looks the best. It looks amazing.
This shit was wild. I was not lying in here, bro.
Fortnite, the huge statue with the sword was insane, and you could land up there, and there was even loot up there. But from a POI perspective, we're not just talking about looks, or else this list would look a little bit different. We're also talking about how effective the POI is to land at. Now, at Grim Gate, you guys remember, there was the green water.
Grim Gate was gas.
They're very interesting and made mobility there very unique. But you could also use the green water to rotate out of the POI very quickly. On top of that, though, it had the best mythic in the game, the mythic Cerberus shotgun and the best medallion.
I don't remember any of the guns from this season.
And that's why it's the best one from Chapter 5, Season 2. And now we're going to a season that a lot of people did not like, but there were a lot of map changes. Chapter 5, Season 3.
Did not play. I don't even think I played.
Red Line Rig, Brutal Beach.
I don't think I played.
Sandy Steps, and Nitro Dome, or Nitro Drome, whatever they called it. Either ways, not a lot of these POIs.
I don't think I even played this.
But I think I'm going to go with Nitro Dome.
Like, I did not even play this, man. Not even a little bit. I don't even think I downloaded the game for this season.
Drome. It was unique to fight there, especially with the cars. You kind of felt like you were having like a car fight. You're playing like pretty much a different game. The music there wasn't that annoying. It was loud, but it wasn't that annoying. It actually was kind of a vibe. The loot there was also insane because you got the mythic medallion that gave you infinite ammo, and you got the mythic crossbow, which if you combined it with the mythic medallion that gave you infinite ammo, became a problem. You also get the mythic cars. You guys remember that one was one of the better ones that you could get. It's also closer to the center of the map. There was the cactus around that would regenerate and give you shield, and there was a good amount of loot and things to farm in the POI and
no idea.
Now we move on to Chapter 5, Season 4, the Marvel season.
I didn't play this either.
The expectations of the previous Marvel season.
Not once.
Still gave us a pretty cool POI, Castle Doom. Very unique design, very cool POI to land at. A lot of people were landing here for the Doom.
Yeah, okay, what the fuck? I kind of wish I played this.
Massive POI with a ton of loot, and there was also the rotation that you could do where you would just use the little Doom tower to fly and rotate. I landed here a lot during the FNCS and during Cash Cups, and overall it just does.
Does Cypher play Cash Cups
this season? And now we move on to a new
since when?
chapter. We're currently in Chapter 6.
Chapter 6 is gas.
We have Mass Meadows. We have Night Shift Forest, Demon's Dojo.
All right, so what's my favorite POI of this of season 1? Might be Bird, bro. Bird was gas. Flooded Frogs. Probably Flooded Frogs. Flooded Frogs was gas.
All these POIs are very beautiful. Design-wise, they're incredible. But if I gotta give one that gives an insane amount of loot and an insane amount of materials, there could be a few. But I'm gonna go with Night Shift Forest. They had the unique...
That is an awful take. It's one of the worst POIs. I fucking hated it.
Mechanic where you capture the sprite, give it to that guy. He gives you a key to
Awful.
open the vault. The forest goes from nighttime to daytime when you do this. This is a very unique design, very fun gameplay to land here and go for that. And then once you open that vault, you had all the loot in the world to finish out the match.
I didn't even open that vault.
Season 2, we got a whole new biome.
Crime City.
A lot of POIs
I don't even need to see it, bro.
But I gotta give it to the main POI.
I don't even need to see it. It's Crime City, bro. It's Crime City. Anyway, if you guys enjoyed, make sure to drop down below and jerk it.